So, good afternoon. We are running 90 minutes late. So, two housekeeping announcements. Number one is there won't be a tea break. If you want your tea and coffee, you can collect it and have it on your table. And to ensure that we don't disturb the, the panel discussion, I'll just speak for 5 to 10 minutes of filibustering so that gives you time to collect your tea and coffee, and by the time the three panelists come on stage, you all are settled, okay? So that's one. Point number two is I've been in Kochi for the past few days, and on 22nd of February, KMPA members in the Secretariat requested that prior to the panel discussion, if you can just speak a little bit about what your experience has been in the last 2 or 3 years, printing industry and COVID. Now, of course, Narendra sir, Selva sir and Manu have been quite exhaustive. But what I'll try to quickly do, and just to sort of fill in the gaps, there are 2 or 3 things which I'd like to share which I think are of importance. There's a sort of great so Narendra sir has given us a fairly exhaustive panoramic view of what is transpiring in the printing industry. He also very briefly in one of the slides touched upon book publishing. Again, just for your context, today, 25th February, is also the first day of the Delhi World Book Fair, which is transpiring in Delhi. And I'll also give you some numbers. 2,000 stalls, 1,000 exhibitors, which is basically 1,000 publishers, out of which there is representation from 45 international, territories. And this is happening in Delhi from 25th February to 5th March. Now, what is astonishing is the presence of the print industry at the Delhi Book Fair is almost notional. It's 1% or 2%. Printer publishers have stalls there. Otherwise, the printing fraternity does not go to the show, which has been happening traditionally. And it is something that has been quite alarming for me, that here is an industry which is, thriving, and yet somewhere the two, worlds don't seem to be meeting. We tend to go to Frankfurt, we tend to go to London, but we do not go to Delhi Book Fair, which has a sizable presence of multinational publishers, major Hindi publishers, and of course regional and educational publishers. The other reason to touch upon this briefly is to look at books. Again, there is enormous amount of doom and gloom about books. I've collected some data over the last 24 hours. Some of it is government data, which is NBT, NCRT, and the second is data from the export-import thing. Again, the reason to share this with you is for 2 reasons. Because again, during this trip in Kerala, while I was visiting a lot of printers, the general sentiment I got was people are non-bullish about books. They are bearish. And I think as an industry, A, we should know our facts. B, we should know what is actually transpiring with the printed book. And C, also shout about the success story. The same way in which we talk about packaging, the same way in which we talk about labels, somewhere I think that, that passion seems to be missing for printed books. Again, just sharing some big numbers with you. Government textbook data, Maharashtra, where I come from, says 100 million textbooks. Uttar Pradesh, 250 million. West Bengal, 100 million. Tamil Nadu, 100 million. Bihar, 80 million, and so on and so forth. Again, what we are picking up is the new states, quote unquote, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Telangana. Again, there's a big spike because the moment a new state is born, again, the textbook curriculum, and then obviously what happens with that, and then the entire value chain. It's not just a question of textbooks being produced, but how it benefits the printing industry. So 3 trends. Again, I'm just sharing this with you because how to pick data. So NCRT, from whom we have sourced this data, they are talking of 2.5 billion textbooks for students. This is up to K-12. This is significant. We are one of the largest producers of textbooks domestic, and we are still an under-penetrated textbook market. Just keep that in mind, that we are producing 2.5 billion textbooks, and yet we are an under-penetrated market. The other thing that we picked up a lot of data, and I will not sort of burden you with this, is we looked at printing inks, we looked at plates, we looked at paper, of course. But one of the key indicators for books for us traditionally has been adhesives. And again, approximate consumption of hot melt adhesives for bookbinding, again this is very, very interesting, from Jan to 2022 of Jan to December, so last 12 months, is sort of between 5,500 metric tons to 6,000 metric tons. And this has been one of the highest consumption of adhesives that India has seen in the last 7 years. So again, all the theories that there has been a decline, books are not being consumed, etc., etc., that is the thing. And again, manufacturers of post-press for bookbinding and bookbinding lines have had probably their best machine sales in 25 plus years in India. So they've doubled sales in the period 2021 to 2022. So again, these are the three big takeaways for you. And again, it's interesting, thanks to KMPA, I was able to visit Kochi Binale 3 days ago. And again, interesting, lot of digital cutting edge installations, lot of modern artwork, etc. But almost 15 to 20% of artists are actually working with books. They're talking about good old-fashioned ink on paper. And of course, then because they are artists, they're doing interesting things with different methodologies, different structures of books. They're trying to also see if maybe 500 years, 1,000 years, we've been using the book in a particular way. Can we change that? So again, even from a design perspective, it's quite sort of interesting. Just continuing on this theme, because I think it'll also be a bit of an inspiration. So as you all are aware, and both Selva sir and Manuda alluded to the awards, we conduct the PrintWeek awards, and during the awards we are also doing some kind of auditing of what is transpiring in different sectors. And again, the kind of growth that we are seeing over there has been significant across India, and again across sizes of book print firms. Now interestingly here, this is the export-import data. The sum total of print exports from India is 2,225 crores rupees, and the largest share of print exports is not coming from packaging, but it's coming from books. Again, 1850 crores is books and 318 crores is from leaflets. Now again, interesting to look at the kind of demographics and regions which have trade partnership with India. So you have the US, which dominates at 26.22, and then again interesting, at number 2 is Ghana, number 3 is UK, number 4 is Nigeria, number 5 is Switzerland, number 6 is Tanzania, UAE, and surprisingly in the top 10 is Pakistan. Again, a trend we noticed during COVID is that we have Indian firms, not just in the book segment, setting up factories in Niger, Zimbabwe, Angola, and again, I mean, there are some thumb rules. Because of paucity of time, I'll sort of not dwell too much on that. Now again, the feeling that I'm probably giving you is that all of this is happening in, the large factories, the big behemoths, people with a lot of capex, people with political contacts, people who can leverage, government sources, etc. But there are also small players and nimble players who are in this space, who are actually set up factories, outside of India. So again, a good example is somebody called Harish Bhai in Mumbai. It's called Jaina Packaging. He does a lot of very interesting and innovative work in design with corrugation boxes. So he has set up a factory in the US because there were a lot of exports that were happening. So instead of manufacturing in Kurla, where his factory is in Mumbai, he decided to set up a unit along with his design partner and his design team over there. And this is again not just one example. There are about 15 to 20 of these examples in the last 12 months where you have small, nimble, very boutique kind of firms, setting up in addition to their India operations and operation over there and optimizing that kind of talent. Now again, I mentioned some of the importers, etc., but there are also the leading book exporters. Now again, I'm going to share 5 names with you. It's a long list. And the reason to share is also to just give you a sense of the profile of who these people are and where they come from. So at the top of the Indian book export is Replica. And again, it's very interesting because I think at Print and Beyond, Bhuvnesh ji had come and spoken to the August gathering. And it's very interesting. Some of the some of the thoughts that Bhuvnesh ji had shared on that day, like Selva sir and Narendra sir and Manuda, were actually him talking to himself in terms of what more can replica do. So you see, sometimes, having a conversation in front of an audience, you just firm up the thing. The second company on this list with 186 crores is, again, a company which was not on our radar for a very long time. It's from Jhansi in Uttar Pradesh. So it's not, again, our idea that it should be near an export, it should be having, cloud. This is a company called Pitambara. Again, who they are and what they represent. The third company is, again, completely different from almost the top 10 companies in the list. It's a company called Quarterfold, which is a baby. It's about 8 to 9 years. It's run by a young boy, who's probably as young as Manu. He runs the organization like a startup. Every evening, once the deals are done, etc., they shut shop and they call a stand-up comedian, and he performs for his team. Average age of his team is 30 to 35. He's the oldest at about 40 odd. This is a company called Quarterfold. So again, I'm sharing this not to sort of scare you and, but to just give you a sense that it's a very diverse group. And it's a group of people coming from, different ways of doing business and different approaches to business. Each of these people are completely different from each other. The fourth person on the list is very similar to, what CDC's business plan is Thomson Press. But again, it's a legacy press. And a company which used to do a lot, as some of you are aware, in Bible printing, and had that operation in Navi Mumbai, and then, there were hiccups, that closure of that factory, and then to rise from that and create what they have created, and they are there at 149. And the fifth is our very own Manu Dada at CDC, which is again a remarkable sort of achievement. So I have, unfortunately, what happened was I was told to prepare this, and me being very sincere and everything, I made a 1-hour speech. So I'm not going to sort of inflict it on you. There's one other small thing. Can I take 2-3 more minutes? Yeah. This is again important point. Again, there is a publication that we do, which we started off prior to COVID, etc. But where we basically, like PrintWeek talks to print CEOs and packaging converter CEOs, WhatPackaging talks to brand owners. I'm sharing this again with you to just let you know, flip the coin in a way. We tend to see, because today we saw 3 very good presentations from our side of the industry, our perspective. What is our process? What is our methodology, etc. But I'm going to flip it and show what the other side is. So this I quickly made during the lunch break. So we did this little survey with not a very ambitious number, but about 52 brand owners. So this was basically food, beverage, pet products, healthcare, and personal care. So some very generic trends, some of which I think was evident in the HP presentation. That packaging, 90% say that packaging is important for brand. I mean, this is stuff that almost every PPT says. But what was really 3 interesting inputs that came out. One was that 60% of buying, purchasing decisions is taken by women. And yet, our own side of the industry is very underrepresented in that. So that was number one. 30% is millennial, as Narendra sir had pointed out. Now, in all this, I was, when we were interviewing one of the brand packaging owners, and this is from Colgate Palmolive, we had gone to Vapi. And in Vapi, as you know, you have EPL, erstwhile SL Propack, now EPL. They are the largest manufacturer of lamitubes. Global players. They have, factories here, of course, Poland, and, world over, Ukraine as well, Russia as well. So this lady I met over there, and then during the lunch break, it so happened because we were the 2 outsiders in that factory, we were put together for the lunch break. And then she was a young woman again, 24, 25, passed out from IIM Bangalore. And then we just got chatting, and I asked her, is this your first job? She said yes. And I asked her, we got casually chatting and etc. And then she said, my CTC, I didn't ask her, but my CTC is 45 lakhs. And which of course, I like took a deep breath and I said, this is your starting pay at 24 or what it is. And of course, the way we think is that she doesn't deserve this. I mean, there are people in our industry who do a hell of a lot more and who deserve a lot more. And then while we were having lunch, she described her typical day in her life. And I've jotted down. So this I'm sharing with you because you'll just get a perspective that what is it that the brand owner who's handling packaging going through, and what are their pain points, and is there some way we as an industry with all the science which backs us, can we address some of that? So at 8:30 she reports to work, almost 30 minutes prior, just to prepare myself to attend the late evening early meeting calls. Then calls to different countries. So she apparently has a wall with different countries, so US, Korea, etc., etc. Then 9 to 9:30, reporting team for the updations post-mortems, get instructions because priorities are constantly changing. Then status update for all the work allotted, for which then she has apparently 4 computer screens, almost like, a call center person, and then she's pulling out data from each of this. 9:30 to 10 a.m. is planned for the day priorities. Month start will prepare for the daily working chart. And this changes as per feedback. So, currency and all those other things. 10 to 11 is technical work. So basically in technical work, they look at mailing, testing, report preparations, checklists, giving approvals, those kind of things. And all this is happening on a smartphone via Bluetooth. And then, one second. Then at 11 to 12 is calls and mails to factories and then suppliers, other departments, communication steps, and then again multiple digital calls, WhatsApp, Skype, mail, personal meetings, and so on. 12 to 1 is meeting suppliers. 1:30 to 2:30 during lunch is meeting other department heads, and if responses are delayed, urgent need, and then so on and so forth. There's technical work, mail, audit reports, calls and mails to factory suppliers, department heads, etc. And then finally a report, because there's an MNC, there's an updation of that report which they have to submit. And every day they have this day report which they have to submit to avoid missing the communication planned for the day. So this is that. Now interestingly enough, 10 days ago I was in Delhi for Plast India, but because some of my publishing friends are there, one of the persons I met was a young lady, again, 39, 40, and she is the vice president at Hachette. And when I met her for dinner, she said, you can congratulate me. So I said, why? She said, now I've been promoted to senior vice president. I said, okay, that's great. What does it mean? She said, salary is the same, but now I have additional responsibility because I have to also look at supply and logistics. So I said, oh, that's good, that's wonderful. She said, no, I was always doing that, but I was doing it informally. Now I'm doing it formally. And then she went into a longish discussion, something similar to what this lady at Colgate was, about how supply logistics is one of the biggest pain points for any publisher, and making POs for that. So typically at Hachette they have 5 verticals. One is what they're doing, regular books, then short runs, then PODs, then exports, and then of course the the personalized books which they do for VIP book launches, etc. And as a vice president in such a big publishing conglomerate, this becomes her responsibility. So I said, so who does all this for you? She said, I have gradually trained my book partner to do this. As some of you are aware, Hachette works with Manipal to a large extent, and so that is how the equation. This got me thinking, both these encounters, and there have been a few more, got me thinking that as an industry, is this an opportunity for us to do a lot more, with this community? Because 2 things are happening. One is just the sheer workload, and second is, there are a whole lot of things because, product collaterals have just multiplied. Their own sort of job pressures seem to have increased, and then plus, of course, all this behemoth of things. Anyway, like I said, I could have gone on. I'm going to skip all that, and one sec before yes. And come now that we have a fairly good quorum, I'll request all 3 of you to please join me on stage. Narendra sir, Selva sir, and Manuda. Yeah, thank you. So just for convenience, I'm going to stand here. Yeah. Yeah. So first and foremost, thank you very much to the three of you. We need mics. Two would be good, and then later maybe if, yeah. So again, what we have done, Narendra sir, Selva sir and Manuda, is that, of course, your presentations, but prior to that, we did solicit some questions from KMPA members and some of the printers. So as I mentioned, last 2 to 3 days, one has been traveling around in Kochi. So some questions one has picked up, and more importantly, this is more or less representative of the pain points, a typical SME, MSME printer, this thing. So I've tried to somewhere connect that with the presentation so that there is some coherence in the whole thing. So I'll start off with a very generic question based on the presentation, because that was one of the things I heard during the lunch break, that all three presentations were excellent, all three presentations were brilliant, but these are comfortable companies which have, got huge brand ethos. They are companies that have a long legacy. They are comfortable in the way they're doing business. For a small company, there are too many incentives. The question from their side is that how, is it slightly different in the states that you come from, Tamil Nadu, Hyderabad, and of course West Bengal. And is it easier to do print business over there? What are the challenges and this thing? And there was a word that came up called license Raj. Has the printing industry truly moved out of that mindset? We have moved out of license Raj, but have we really moved out of that? And is there any support that you all have got from your respective state governments? And is there something that has benefited you which could also benefit a small printer in Kerala? So we could start off with Selva sir.
Good evening, everyone. If you look at what is happening in Tamil Nadu, I would say, like most of the other states, the schemes, the offers, the so-called benefits, they are all only on paper. You don't really get much support from the government. The common saying is that as long as the government doesn't trouble us, we are fine.
Yep.
So, honestly speaking, we don't get much support from the state government. In fact, getting approvals is a pretty tough task. Recently, they brought printing industry under that orange category.
Correct.
In terms of pollution. So, which means you have to take one more clearance, procedures, complex procedures and all that, So, life isn't easy in Tamil Nadu in terms of government and other things.
Sure. Narendra sir?
As far as Telangana is concerned, we have no issues from the government. We don't have any major problems which they have. At the same time, we don't get any softs either.
Correct.
We are okay with that.
Yeah. No, and there's something that you've been saying for a long time, which is industry status. So again, two questions, that if we get industry status, what happens to our industry, number one. And number two is that supposing you do, bump into the finance minister or the minister of education, etc. What are the, two things which are on the top of your mind which you will demand for our industry?
Point is, so many things can come in as industry-specific SOPs,
yep,
which we are missing out on. Okay, if you run a small-scale MSME, then also it's a service. It's not an industry, but an MSME industry has got so many advantages. So that we are missing out on.
Sure.
So that I think is something which, you see, the point is, the big picture is not available with us or with the government. That's what is my problem.
Sure.
That's why when I say All India Master Print Association, we have to have the big picture. That's the reason why the big picture has to be shown.
Sure.
To make sure that this is an industry.
Sure. Manu? I think people are interested because here in Kerala they feel a connect with West Bengal in terms of politics, so many things. So how have you succeeded? Basically they want to know that, yeah.
The major reason why we succeeded is probably because we were based out of West Bengal. It will appear like a shock to most of the people. I don't want to put West Bengal in a bad light, but that's what I'm going to do right now. It's because we had no competition. Had we had the same infrastructure and people in any other part of the country, we would have no name out there. It's just because there's hardly any competition there in West Bengal. There are not many aggressive printers over there who are who are trying to grow themselves. Which is that it was very natural for us to grow to where we are. And we think about it. I mean, had it been anywhere in Delhi, Mumbai, or any other big city, even Pune, we would be nowhere close to even top 5 printers over there.
Sure. But how did you did move into packaging later on, you went into, Africa and the other geographies, but how did you create new demand? What was the methodology? I mean, a lot of people reach a scale and then they find it difficult to breach that. So again, if there is some, mantra.
Again, that has to do with West Bengal. We produce one of the best minds in the world, but unfortunately they don't stay in West Bengal. They get migrated to other places, but once they grow a little old, they want to come back to West Bengal, and that's how we've been able to get some of the brilliant minds, some of the brilliant people who's worked across India, across the globe, and those are the people who we depend on to take this business forward.
Sure. Narendra sir and Selva sir, the first question, probably I didn't phrase it as well as I should have. What I wanted to ask is that a lot of the energy of a typical print CEO gets embroiled in doing admin which is related to taxes and those kind of things. I think again the question that I wanted to ask on the behalf was that how does a typical print CEO keep all this aside and focus on business, and more importantly think from the a lot of things that you shared, value addition, innovation, but how do you actually keep all these day-to-day stresses aside and think from a customer's perspective and come up with that product innovation or a solution or something like that? Most of us seem to be grappling with day-to-day problems which are insurmountable at some stage. So
in my opinion, first you have to set a house in order.
House in order.
Yes. You want to evade tax, you want to play with the laws, you want to take so many things for a ride, then definitely the system will catch up with you sooner or later.
Sure.
Having said that, it does not mean that we are not troubled by the government, because even after the implementation of GST, still there are a lot of grey areas which is being exploited by bad officers. And if you look at income tax, faceless assessment is very good, but it is also heartless. They just don't read the reply that you give. They don't apply their mind on the order that they sign. So this is certainly a challenge, but still all this can be easily managed. Like I would say, if you're able to keep 90% of the trouble away by being straightforward and simple, 10% I think you can easily manage.
Sure.
I think that's how we should be going.
Sure. Narendra sir? Yeah.
I must say that, the basic thing is that death and taxes you can't avoid. So they're non-negotiable. So we have to pay what we have to pay.
Correct.
And in my case, whether it's GST or whether it is income tax, I really don't spend any time on it. Because the point is, when the time comes to pay, we have to pay. And yes, there are some problems we have to go through, like Mr. Selva mentioned, we have to go through it. But basically, not much time through the day, anything, once in a way it comes in and we sort it out. The clarity of thought, 25% of our money in the profit is not ours, makes company and yourself a much better person to organize itself.
Sure.
And it makes a lot of difference.
Right. Speaking of profits, what does a printer do when profits are not going up? And, how do you cope with that? You were sharing some interesting insights during the breakfast thing about season, peak season, non-peak season, and also shrinking gross margins. When these two big things are there as, part of the big picture, how does, again, a SME printer owner address these issues?
No, the point is somewhere Mr. Selva was telling us the relationship, you are a good relation and you should not increase the price. That's what the customer said.
Right, right.
And this is what happens. There is only one reason to do business. Only one. That is to make money. Because if you don't make money, the business will not sustain. It will fold. So the point is, there cannot be a general one mantra which fits you all. No. Each of you knows your business the best. None of us can know your business. So whether you want to do business at 5%, 3%, 2% or you want to do Deseva, it's up to you. So basically, we have to be in charge of, once in a way, yes, we can do free job, we can do a low price job, but most of the times we have to make money and break even.
Manu, you want to add something?
I'm probably too immature to speak about this in this big forum, but sitting at office, doing our regular job, what we do every day, we can't think of profits. If we have to think of profits, we have to move away from office, sit in a coffee shop or sit somewhere else where you're focused on profits, because once you enters the office, you get wired to the issues and problems that are happening on a day-to-day basis, and you lose sight over what we really want to achieve. Whereas if you just move out, for an example, this presentation that I prepared, I would never have been able to do it sitting in office or in factory, even if I had spent then weeks and weeks of time. I had gone to a hotel cafe at probably 4:35 in the morning. By 10 o'clock, my entire write-up was complete. This I would never have achieved sitting in a place where I get wired by different things. Similarly, for profit also, we can't think of growing profits doing what we do every day.
Got it. So please. Yeah.
One small thing I want to add. See, the typical problem with a small printer is that they have very few customers, and once they start squeezing you, you get into trouble. My suggestion is that you should always keep your eyes and ears open. For example, you are dedicating 60-70% of your capacity to someone who is not allowing you to make any profit. Slowly you should move away to someone smaller who will let you make some money. What is the point in doing 1 crore business and taking home 1 lakh? You rather find somebody who will let you, who will do only 5 lakh business and give you 1 lakh profit. Such customers and such jobs are available. Only thing is you should seek for it. If you sit there comfortable, okay, 70% of my capacity is taken care of this fellow, then there is no solution for this.
Sure. One of the interesting things you said, Selva sir, and it seemed to indicate that example that you gave of a trust deficit with the customer. So again, the question I want to ask you is, especially in this day and age when everything seems so volatile and fragile, how do you actually build as a printer? You hear the old timers talk, they say 50 years relationship, he's like a family friend, etc., etc. But today, what is the kind of relationship typically that you have with a customer, and are they partners? Are we as a community, should we treat them as partners on equal foothold? Strategic vendors? What are things which are doable, which are things which are not doable? What should the standard be for this relationship with a customer?
My humble view is that today the world has become too opportunistic.
Yeah.
So even families don't last long nowadays. So we cannot think of business relationship lasting very long.
That's true.
We should accept that reality and put sincere efforts to ensure that the relationship goes forward for a longer time.
Right.
See, most of the time the customer, he expects a few basic things. One is the price, quality and delivery. You stick to that. Then you don't give him a chance to break away from you. Right?
Correct.
See, they always keep pressurizing you, telling you that X is giving you this rate, that rate. But at the end of the day, they'll come and negotiate with you rather than running away with somebody else. But still there are some customers who get too adventurous and they go to someone who offers a lower price, then get hit. As I told you, most of the companies are manned by professionals. See, they have their targets, they have to reduce the price, these are all in their agenda. There is no escaping for that. But another most important thing is there is also no incentive for him to try with somebody who will not deliver. Supposing he gets a quote from a vendor, cheaper price 5%, 10%, but if that person does not deliver in terms of timelines and quality, then his job is gone. So they would also like to balance somewhere. It's not like somebody has given a quote and they'll simply accept that quote. No. They would like to settle down with someone who is sober, steady, reliable.
Sure.
These things certainly have value, but having said this, you should always be prepared for that dirty moment when your customer is really going to leave.
Sure. You wanted to say something, huh? No. Okay. Contracts, because that seemed to come up again a lot. Should signing contracts, is it sort of de facto, sign contracts, abide by contracts and make that the thing? And what do you do when, for a small printer, when there are these last moment, last second decisions? Always ask for contract, always sign contracts and always ensure that...
See, contracts are not sacrosanct.
Okay.
So you sign a contract, there is always an exit clause which can be applied at any time. See, signing a contract, it gives you some comfort level, but ensuring that that contract is going to stay forever, I think that could be wishful thinking.
Sure. Narendra, sir, this is something that you had shared and I'm going to quote you. So you said that always calculate the total price to customer. You referred to that even today, and study your hidden costs. And then of course in that conversation you had discussed breakages, hidden costs in consumables, glues, etc., transport, hidden costs for brain power, time, etc. And that's the only way to calculate the total cost to customer. So two things, one is this conversion cost, and B, how do you ensure that A, you as an organization abide by that and it gets translated into a reality?
This is regarding costing.
That's right, mainly about costing.
Since we use SAP and as an MIS, how we arrived at per hour cost is this: the cost of the machine, depreciation, cost of power, the cost of ink, cost of people, and the cost of spares. Over a period of time, what you have used, how much you might use in this. So all these things put together become the cost of that particular thing, and then what's the margin you want to charge on that.
Sure.
So then we get the, and also we can come to 8,000 sheets per hour or 6,000 sheets. Make ready is 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Once all these things are given into the system, then this calculates the price.
Sure.
Otherwise, if you say 60 rupees per thousand, 100 rupees per thousand, it really doesn't make much difference.
Sure.
And also, if when you are quoting, especially for a long run job, while we take ink as a standard, what we think, but then there is a drop down menu, light coverage, medium coverage, dark coverage,
Correct.
heavy coverage. Then based on these particular things, the quotation will change. It's not the same quotation whether you print this or this or this.
Yeah.
So we are trying to get more nearer to what is actually going out and what's coming in.
Sure. Why does, and this I'm asking again from on behalf of the audience, is that why does price become the easiest, easiest item in the entire bouquet to play with? That is the, as compared to the other elements, why is it always price? We speak of 100 other things, quality, delivering on time, reputation, confidentiality, so many things. But for us, it's always price.
The purchase officer is always looking at L1.
Correct.
So at the same time, he wants to make sure at the same time get a good quality thing on time.
Yep.
So he would like to stick to you, but then again negotiate for L1.
Yeah.
Which actually is both not two different north and south. They come together. So this is always an issue, and it's a never-ending fight.
But is there an easy mantra, sir, that we can use to, as an industry to combat this, or horses for courses kind of thing?
The point is, okay, we think we should take about 12% margin on that, negotiate for 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, and then come to a particular place where we can both look at it.
Sure, got it. You want to add something?
Again, it's more with our introspection. I'm sure most of us in this audience, we are not working at L1 prices, which means our customers are giving us more money. What we really need to understand is why are they giving us more money? And if we've never really spent time to understand why are we able to, again, Pragati is different example. I mean, we're not comparing with them. For a normal company, we really haven't really focused or really understood why are we getting orders at higher margin. If we understand that particular factor, if we speak to our customers, why are you giving us more money? I know there is a competitor of mine who can supply you cheap. He will tell you that these are the reasons why I prefer you. And using that factors and not only price, we can pitch to other customers and make a better marketing strategy than only working on prices.
Sure. Again, Manu, I know this is unfair, but your dad, because of his CA background, had given me one long 2-hour lecture on asset turnover ratios. And we had this lengthy thing, he put these case studies and he said 1:1.3, 1:1.19, etc. Outstandings with clients, stock laying in factory, dead stock, clearing of dead inventory. So again, question to the three of you, and again on behalf of the audiences, typically should we be looking at this as printers, this whole asset to turnover ratio, and what according to you, I mean, is that a good way to benchmark the way we do pricing based on what you just shared with us, number one, and number two is that what is a good asset turnover ratio for our industry? I mean, I'm just putting you in the spot by asking a sort of question not in the syllabus, but is that something we can look at?
In my view, these ratios and all these numbers, they don't have a kind of fixed value. For example, if the ratio is 1.3 for something,
correct,
it could be fine with Lovely, but 1.3 may not work for Pragati or CDC. One simple example I would say is the average height of an Indian, if people say it's 5'6", okay? People who are 5'2", they are still doing fine, and people who are 6'4", they are still doing fine.
Right.
That's the way I look at all these numbers. Having said this, certain ratios you have to be a little bit cautious because they are fundamental.
Right.
See, assets, if you have good, capital backing, I think a little bit of laggardness here will get you through.
Correct.
But there are certain critical ratios like current ratio, debt service, those sort of things, you have to be very careful.
Sure.
If you're not keeping your eyes on it, I think you'll be blown over.
Okay.
So it's very subjective. You cannot say one rule fits all.
Okay. Okay. Narendra sir, you want to add something? No. But cash on hand, again, that was something, is there a bare minimum that one keeps? I mean, COVID taught us many lessons. Cash flow, your advice on cash flow, how much, how long, how much to keep?
Asian time, Mrs. Gandhi increased the pricing custom duty by 5%.
Yep.
We had a machine waiting in Delhi, Bombay airport, Bombay port, 2-color machine, but it was cleared, sent to Delhi for an exhibition. 30,000 rupees was the difference. On that day, we really had to go round and round and round and round to get those 30,000. So over a period of time, when we cleared most of the debt and went positive, and also one important thing is when we went white, 1997 VDIS, Voluntary Disclosure Scheme. That made the company very, very strong, and we wanted to make sure that we wanted to be cash rich always.
Sure.
And that makes a big difference, because today if you really buy a 7-color machine with all the bells and whistles,
correct,
it costs 15 to 20 crores.
Yeah.
There is no way whatever calculation you do that will come. But luckily there are 4 or 5 other machines which have already been paid for. They are also working, and that will go to pay for this machine. The only profit I make on the new machine is the depreciation which I take.
Yep.
Okay? So here again, whenever, how much to bite is how much you can chew. That who knows? Only you know.
Yep.
So that's where the problem is. We have to bite what we can chew.
Yep.
And how much is the cash reserve? What is it? Unfortunately, a growing business has got the most problems because it needs continuous input of extra raw material, extra this one.
Correct.
And then, if you do, somewhere the working capital goes into capital investment, then you are in deep trouble.
Yep.
And that is the root cause for many, many people's troubles.
Sure, sure. Yeah, but again, something that I'm staying with you, sorry. What kind of relationship should, again, a printer who is wanting to grow, has that deep ambition, have with his banker? I mean, you touched a lot about customer relationship, but typically, what kind of a relationship should a printer be having with bankers? I mean, is a banker a friend? Because the capital expenditure is there, is draining your cash flow, and especially when you need it the most. And again, two things. One is capital plan, and what plan to follow, and the second is measuring efficiency rates of your assets. So here, this vexed relationships that we have with, and since all three of you have invested big time, I'm sure bankers have played a very, very big part, because that is again something that came up in a lot of the conversations.
Actually, about 8 to 10 years ago, we went cash rich, and we have never used a banker.
Okay.
From then onwards, it's Pragati's internal accruals which pay for the machines, and that's the reason why. And actually, in that particular effect, we get a much better pricing also. I say now how much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that advantage we take. So we really, but as you say, most of the places where we go for a bank and do it, there also, the clarity of thought between working capital and capex, very, very important.
True.
So unless when you're going for a capex, there is reasonable amount of your money in part of it, and then you take the balance, then only it will succeed.
Sure.
If you try and do some amount of working capital also, I'll put in this and go, then you're in trouble.
Right.
And that's where the problem starts.
Sure, sure. Selva sir?
I have something interesting to share. This happened to our press between 2010 and 2014. We were expanding kind of aggressively against the strict instructions given by our CA and bankers. We found an opportunity, we invested. Like Narendra sir said, we did what should not have been done. Take the working capital and use it for capital expenditure. Right from 1961, we have stuck to just one banker, Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank. So the relationship that we have with the bank is almost perfect. They trust us 100%. They just don't look at the paper. They know that we are people who will keep our word, because till date we have not defaulted on our dues even once in the last 60 odd years. So that's the kind of trust they had in us. But what happened was, during that period, 2010 and 14, after making all those big ticket investments, the business didn't grow like what it should have. I can tell you, we saw what hell was during that period. Personally, I spoke to people for payments as low as 5,000 rupees. You please come after 2 days, 3 days.
My God.
Not very long ago, 10 years ago. That's the lesson I tell my children. Never get into that mess. Never play around with your finance. Have sufficient reserves. Okay, the banker is always there to help, but at the end of the day, you'll have to repay him. He's not going to give it to you free.
Sure.
So you should have that discipline. You should know how to look at your cash flows. If you are making losses, if you are having negative cash flow, I think it's only a matter of time before either you get wiped out or you sell some of your assets and come back to positive. Really, this is my strong suggestion to all of you. Please don't try to mix up working capital and capital expenditure. Even if your bank supports you, you won't be lucky all the time. You have to be very cautious. Thank you.
Yep. You want to add something? Okay. So Manuda, I'm coming to your presentation because again there was a specific feedback. Absolutely, mind-blowing what you shared with us. So what came was these multiple levels that are there in the factory and how it relates to bottlenecks mainly, from what I've understood. And that factory production basically is a non-creative process, and one must not become, an artist and try to do something new every day. It's a science, and it follows a step, A, B, C, D, etc. And that seems to be what you're following. Again, a couple of questions that came was, what you showed us was the end product, which is great. It's like a magician. You showed us the thing and we all went, wow. But how do you start with your first 2 or 3 baby steps? Again, if you can flash back to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, how did this journey begin? I mean, and what are the first 2, 3 very rudimentary things that you need to do? If you can share that, because this is, as I said, the final product of the whole,
The easiest suggestion would be read goal 3 to 4 times. You will get the answer.
Theory of constraint. Okay.
And it has been explained in a beautiful way, like a story in this book, Goal, which is a good read, and I believe everybody will get their answers from there. But ideally is to identify your bottleneck and make sure you optimize your bottleneck, and everything else should follow the speed of the bottleneck, so that your system flows. So the idea is like in lean manufacturing or TPS, what they say is value mapping, as in you become the product, you become the raw material, and then you see yourself flowing from starting stage till you finally get delivered, and you see where you're waiting, where you're wasting your resources, where you're wasting your time, and where you can fix those things to make it better. So it's again multiple thoughts, but bottleneck identification and then exploiting it. They do much better job than me explaining, and it's a very simple read.
And you do this in which language? When you're talking to factory, shop floor, etc., how does it work? What is the kind of signage? What is the communication on the shop floor, factory floor?
From the system point of view?
That's right.
So everybody, most of the supervisors and every operator, they have a dashboard. So every morning they can log into the dashboard, and their work list is always there with them. They just have to follow that.
Yeah, right. Narendra Garu, this is when I'd come for the, I think when the SAPI people had actually come to Hyderabad, and there was this huge program, and you were very kind enough to share a lot of things after they left. And one of the things which came up was what you do with your team. And again, I'm quoting you. Once you told me you feed your best employees with bigger tasks, and you create a work culture around the best. That's how you do it. But what was even more interesting, I mean, this sounds great as a management mantra, but who these boys and girls were, that they were in a way almost sort of untrained, and how you kind of develop them, their skill sets, their training. Again, the reason I'm asking is 2 things are emerging even in Kerala, is that a lot of people are saying that you don't have print practitioners on the shop floor who are available. So again, if you can share an insight of how this Pragati training methodology works, and how long does it take to actually create a genius, with these people who are handling the machines or doing the kind of work that they're doing at the Pragati factory.
This is a story of 2 kids from our village.
Okay.
Interfail.
Yeah, sir, please hold.
Interfail. And they came because they wanted to join Pragati. And really sweeping the floor, doing this, that, everything. And one of the guys, we put him as the person who will take the can from the phototype setting machine to the developing room.
Okay.
This guy, I said, anyway, since you're here, you're staying here in the press, in the hostel, you take 10 rupees from me extra. Every afternoon from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, you go and learn typing. He learned typing, then he went on to become BA, this, PGDM, everything. And he became a director on our board.
Okay.
And when we bought the photo typesetting and photo composing, everything, he was the guy who's in charge to make those a success. The very first plate we output on the Cytex, it was Devdas movie.
Okay.
Yes, we sold that plate, the first plate itself. that means that's where they came. Similarly, one more boy, Nagendra, a distant relative, but he came and today he is still on the board as a director. So apart from teaching them, sending them to various exhibitions and coaching classes, whatever, what we have to look at is how much they are, how much passion they have in printing, and that passion is what makes it worth it.
Sure.
And then again, finally, when somebody is putting his heart and soul in it and putting so much of his time in it, if it's just a salary, I don't think it's good enough. A percentage of profit makes it a very it's not just the money, it's just the pat on the back and a recognition that yes, he's a part of the system. That is a big thing which makes a big difference.
Sure. Yeah, no, well done. Selva, you want to add something from the Sivakasi perspective? Because you have 3 training schools there?
Yeah. We have two printing schools, I think.
Yeah.
One is AGP and
Correct.
Printing Technology School. See, most of the boys in our shop floor, they grew up from the ranks. As a policy, we don't poach from anybody.
Okay.
Right? So, it makes sense to train people, bring them up from the ranks. It's a little bit difficult sometimes. So, the point is, you have to identify them. Who has the fire in his belly, who is more loyal, who will be more reliable. You have to identify such people and train them. It works. And it works better than anything else. See, people come and tell me, you have grown to this extent, you should find somebody from Gindi Engineering College or this college, that college. I said no. If I offer 50,000 and if somebody offers 1 lakh, next day he is gone. Rather, I find somebody local who will not run away.
Sure.
Spend some money and effort on him and develop him. He will stay with me for a longer time, giving me more stability. So, best way is to bring people up from the ground. That's the best way to do it.
Yep. Sure, please.
I have talk about one more gentleman.
Okay.
He was an engineering college student, printing engineering college student in Osmania University. When he was in 3rd year, I was called for a keynote speech for the people passing out. So when he heard the keynote speech, he says he's impressed. He was a 35-mark student. But on the 4th year, he became outstanding gold medal winner.
Okay.
And I said, do you want to work for Pragati? He said, not now, after 5 years. Then after 5 years, he came back to us. He joined us as the executive assistant to managing director, that's me. We worked together. And today he is director on the board. And he looks after our Noida plant.
Oh, okay. That's wonderful. That's a huge... And why didn't he want to work with you initially? Was there a...
He wanted to learn... Explore all over, learn, get to a better level and then come.
Oh, he deserves a medal. Yeah. You had a question, Raju? You were saying... No, okay. I have just one, I have just one final question, and then if there is anything, because we had, HP, Xerox, Canon, Avery, post-lunch, and of course a lot of the conversations about investments and what manufacturers, again, and since all 3 of you are, fairly proactive in that, what is the thing that you look out for other than, of course, the machine power? Average interest rates, inflation, you mentioned depreciation, amortization, operating leverage, volatility. I mean, in terms of the soft things, the tricky things in the value chain, when you're making these machine investments, what are the things you normally keep an eye on? When you're purchasing a big machine, like a binding line or a press line or the latest Kamori or, what is the thing to keep an eye on? Manu, you want to start? What does Dad say?
Again, depends on where we are losing
sourcing,
out.
Yeah.
So what's the bottleneck? So last year we invested in 2 binding machines, we added a foil stamping machine, we added a flute laminate, we added a lot of things. We added 2 floors which amounted to 50,000 square feet. All of these were results of understanding where we are getting stuck, and so start of the year we make a project plan. These are the different areas where we are working on. These are the different category of customers that we are catering to. What is the amount of effort that we are putting in? What is the gross profit that we are earning?
Sure.
And then at the end we realize okay, let's say I am earning X gross profit. Overall I earned X gross profit last year. I want to make it 1.5 or whatever X. So how do I redistribute the earnings in different areas or different client categories? And then in order to do that, what machines and what infrastructure do we need?
Sure.
And that's the policy that we adopted to invest 14-15 crore rupees last year on these things, and that has paid off really, really well.
Sure.
Now to make it another 1.5x, I'm really scared and I have no idea.
Right. Yeah.
The investments are always two. One is gold rat. Gold. Where is the bottleneck coming?
Yep.
So improve the bottleneck. Number two, I sincerely think we've been talking about Deepak Bagla's, which
Correct. Dr. Anayat also.
Dr. Anayat also said. I believed in that story last year itself, that we are going on this path. So if you want at that particular time, again as one of, I don't know who mentioned it, delivery times for machines has become 1 year near.
True.
Delivery times.
Yeah.
So by the time you take a decision, order for the machine and then it's coming 1 year, it's too late to come. So we thought we should get the machine somewhere in this March, April here. So we went ahead last year itself.
Sure.
It's a gamble we are taking. Hopefully it will be successful.
Sure. Selva sir, you want to add something? Yeah.
Just one point.
Ji.
See, the thing is, when you make an investment, it does not mean that that machine should pay back by itself. Sometimes there are supportive machines. For example, we have a hardcover line, and there is a machine to do the elastic band on the machine. If you look at the cost of that elastic band machine, people will say it's madness to buy that machine.
Yeah.
But the point is, if you don't have those machines, you will not get orders for those hardcover books. So you should know what you're doing. That's all. Sometimes it's not straightforward all the time.
Sure.
It comes in a tricky way, but as a businessman, you should know what exactly you're doing. So don't look at direct ROI all the time.
Yep.
That's what I would like to say.
Sure. Yeah, just three really quick questions. One is that, everybody talks of, when we look for heroes outside of our industry, we are typically looking at, Asian Paints, Pidilite, and I'm deliberately mentioning this because these are B2B brands who then became a big business in terms of B2C. And one of the interesting things, the Pidilite CEO said that products are made in factories and brands are made in the hearts. The reason I'm asking this question to the three of you is because today, to a large extent, Lovely, Pragati, CDC, these are brands. Maybe not as huge as Pidilite and Asian, but you have been able to somewhere do what this Pidilite gentleman has said. Again, is there something conscious that you did in terms of creating, building, conjuring this brand, which made that shift from B2B to B2C kind of a thing? Yeah.
It happened.
No, it's much more complicated, yeah.
As far as Lovely is concerned, we wanted to create a brand.
Right.
That's why we created that Lovely Cards brand in 96, I think. And now my son has started creating a brand, Lovely Store, for stationery product.
Yep.
So brand building is very important. Brand will save the day for you someday.
Sure. Don't dodge the question.
It happened.
It happened.
Or it's happening, not happened yet.
Yeah. And the second question, which is the last one, is that, again, this is a conversation with some of the big FMCG majors. This is Hemant Malik of ITC, not the paperboard and this thing. And he said what they have done is basically everybody has become empowered to take quick but prudent decisions and be agile and aware on ground reality. And that's again something which I seem to think, whatever little I know about the three of you, that all three of you avoid micromanagement. But a lot of print CEOs, a lot of packaging converter owners, I find that they get involved in, day-to-day rolling up their sleeves, which has got its own adrenaline and which is fun to do. But how have you all avoided micromanagement, and how at the same time do you keep an eye and ear very close to customers? Because again, that's something I am aware, that all three of you have your eye and pulse, on the customer. So A, how do you avoid micromanagement and customer? Come on, Manu, this one you can take.
The entire 40-minute session was on this.
Yeah, but micromanagement? I mean, keeping an eye and this thing on the customer, because obviously this...
These are the scores that we're getting. What is my on-time delivery?
Right.
What is my conversion ratio? What is the percentage of order quotation that we've given that we've converted it?
Sure.
I mean, all those things help decide whether the customer is okay or not.
Sure. Yeah.
Then we recently started a feedback calling system.
Okay.
But probably I think only 10 or 15 calls has been made. It just started last week.
Okay.
But just those.
Right. Yeah. But this would be for domestic and overseas.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Sir, micromanagement?
I think there was a time when we were a part of the micromanagement.
Over
a period of time, as we grew bigger and larger, we graduated out of it. And yes, we get the what is the percentage of what is the efficiency of the printing machines last shift, and all those data comes into us and we look at it.
Sure.
But otherwise, there are people to take care of.
Yeah. Is it difficult to let go?
You have to. You have no choice.
Yeah.
You have to, because the point is, if you don't let go, it will never go.
Yeah.
And only go when you go. That's not good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Selva sir, last word to you.
I think I go by what Mr. Narendra has said. Micromanagement, but in my view, is that in printing industry, you simply cannot run away from that.
Yep.
You can minimize it, but you can never get away from that. This profession is like that. But basically, if you set your eyes on something big, you want to have some free time and you want to look at the bigger picture, then I think you should move away from micromanagement.
Sure. Right, I am done. Yeah, I think time-wise also we've done. Thank you very much, all three of you. It's been absolutely wonderful. Yep.